After 30 years as a police captain, facing down the worst humanity had to offer, I thought I'd earned a slice of peace. My new home in Whispering Pines, a lakeside haven, promised shimmering waters, tranquil mornings, and neighbors who kept to themselves. I pictured sipping coffee on my porch, the lake sparkling like a jewel, free from the blare of police radios. But on moving day, as I maneuvered a rental truck into my driveway under a golden dawn, I discovered how wrong I was about those neighbors. A voice, sugary but sharp as a blade, cut through the quiet. "Welcome to Whispering Pines," it sang. I turned to meet my nightmare. A woman in her late 50s, blonde hair sculpted to perfection, clutching a tray of warm cookies and a leather folder that radiated control. Her name was Diane Walsh, HOA president, and her eyes held the cold calculation I'd seen in Seasoned Criminals. "I'm Michael Reed," I said, taking her cookies with a cautious smile. They smelled heavenly, but her warmth was a mask. She handed me a welcome packet, prattling about trash schedules and lakeside gatherings. Then, in a flash, her smile vanished. She jabbed a finger at my truck like it was a personal insult. "That violates our aesthetic code, Section 12B, she snapped, whipping out her phone to snap photos like she was building a case. I explained that county rules allowed temporary moving trucks, but Diane was deaf to reason. She scribbled on a citation form from her folder. "That's a $200 fine for ruining our community's ambience," she said, thrusting the paper at me. My cop instincts flared. This was a rehearsed extortion. I pushed the citation back. "I'm not paying. You have no authority." Her face turned scarlet, and she launched into a rant about defiant newcomers. Then, with a dramatic flourish, she called 911. Diane's act was masterful. "I need police at Whispering Pines," she quavered into the phone. "This new resident is aggressive, threatening me, and breaking our rules with a huge truck." I nearly laughed. Decades in law enforcement, and now I was the criminal. I started recording on my phone. 15 minutes later, 2 young officers rolled up, buying Diane's trembling victim routine. She handed them her citation like it was a court order, spinning tales of my hostility. I stayed calm, handing over my driver's license. Officer Carter, barely out of training, glanced at it, then at my truck's dashboard, where my retired police association card lay. His brow furrowed. "Sir, were you in law enforcement?" Before I could respond, a third cruiser arrived. Sergeant Brooks, a weathered cop, stepped out, spotted my card, and froze. "Captain Reed?" "From Metro Precinct." The mood shifted. Diane's smug grin crumbled as Brooks, who'd served under me, clasped my hand with respect. "Best captain we ever had," he said loudly. The younger officers stiffened, and Diane's face went pale. Brooks turned to her, his tone cutting. "You called 911 over a legal moving truck on his own property?" Diane mumbled about community standards, but Brooks shut her down, warning her about abusing emergency services. As they left, her eyes burned with rage. She wasn't finished. That night, an email from Diane doubled the fine to $400, tacking on charges for disturbing the peace. She threatened legal action if I didn't comply. The next day, my neighbor, Eric Lawson, approached, glancing around nervously. "Diane's been doing this for years," he whispered. "Bogus fines, threats, even calling cops on people. Most just leave." He said Diane kept dossiers on everyone's personal secrets, financial records, anything to control them. Another neighbor, elderly Clara Bennett, slipped me a manila envelope packed with documents. "Diane ruined the Thompson family in 2019, she murmured. They won a lawsuit against her, but she hounded them until they fled. The envelope held court records, news clippings, and financial oddities pointing to Diane's abuse. I called my old partner, Nathan Ellis, now a civil rights lawyer. He chuckled at the irony. A retired captain versus an HOA dictator? Send me everything. His tone darkened as he dug into Whispering Pines records. Their 2019 board minutes are incomplete, and the financials are off. Meanwhile, Diane ramped up her attack. She leaked edited security footage to the local paper, branding me a volatile ex-cop. Neighbors began avoiding me, and the community's online forum buzzed with lies about my dangerous behavior. Eric, who'd offered help, betrayed me at an emergency HOA meeting, claiming I'd threatened Diane. The sting of his words hit hard, but Clara handed me another envelope. "Don't quit," she urged. Diane did this to the Thompsons, scintillated them, turned friends against them. Nathan's digging unearthed a bombshell. In 2019, the Thompsons sued Diane for similar harassment. The court deemed her fines illegal, ordering her to pay $5,000 and stop issuing violations without board approval. She defied the ruling, continuing her tyranny. Worse, she'd secretly hiked HOA fees by $50 a month to cover her legal bills. $60,000 siphoned from the community. Diane's threats grew sinister. At a meeting, she cornered me by the dock. "I've crushed people like you," she hissed. The Thompsons thought they could win. Where are they now? Her eyes betrayed fear. She saw me as a threat to her kingdom. The showdown came at a Tuesday evening meeting by the lake. Diane, armed with a PowerPoint of my offenses, aimed to expel me. But Nathan and I were prepared. Eric, guilt-ridden, stood and confessed. Diane threatened my family if I didn't lie about Michael. The crowd gasped. Neighbors shared their own tales of her intimidation. I presented the evidence: court records, bank statements proving her fraud, and recordings of her threats. When Nathan played her voice admitting to driving out the Thompsons, the pavilion went silent. Diane's meltdown was explosive. She screamed about conspiracies and her sacrifices for the community. When I proposed a financial audit, she shrieked, "You have no right." The vote to oust her was unanimous. 3 days later, at 2 a.m., the HOA office alarm blared. Security footage caught Diane shredding documents and deleting files. Sergeant Brooks arrested her for breaking and entering. Eric, monitoring the cameras, provided key footage, redeeming himself. The evidence exposed $80,000 in embezzlement, fake invoices, personal trips charged to the HOA. Diane pleaded guilty to felonies, facing probation, $25,000 in restitution, and a forced sale of her home. The community reformed with transparent finances and a homeowner's bill of rights. I was elected HOA president, and we apologized to the Thompsons, giving them closure. But tranquility was short-lived. 6 months later, a new neighbor, Vanessa Holt, moved into Diane's old house. Her obsessive inspections and demands for HOA records mirrored Diane's tactics. Clara warned me. Vanessa had targeted Whispering Pines to restore order after Diane's fall. Watching her measure property lines with a clipboard, I felt a familiar chill. The battle against tyrants never ends. You just have to be ready.